ITHACA. ITHACA is a book I wrote because I figured the industry of publishing is very mysterious to people. I mean, I bet if you ask me, how does a book get published? You don't have a clue. You know? Like the people in the audience saying, why are you sitting there sitting in judgment on my manuscript? I think I've written a book of genius. Why aren't you publishing me? Why isn't it selling 10,000 copies? Why aren't you giving me 50 lakhs in advance? Why aren't you doing these things? Who are you? Who are you to sit in judgment on my genius? Etc. Questions like that. So I figured, why not write a novel about it? Because I'd never seen a book about the world of publishing, and I'd been a publisher for 25 years. I thought it's quite mysterious to people outside. So that's why I decided to write a book about the world of publishing. It's quite exciting in its own way. Because it's a book that hinges on chance, on luck. It's actually a book where people gamble on stuff all the time. Say you've written a book, and say it's a halfway decent book. And say you're a first-time author. From the point of view of the world, I think it's a halfway decent book. The world doesn't know anything about you, unless you are Rajinikanth, in which case you're already a brand. I can confidently print 100,000 copies and know that your fans will buy it. If you're a regular person like me or anybody else, maybe 300 people know you by sight, by name, outside of your immediate family. Will those 300 people go out and put down 300 rupees to buy your book? I have no idea. Maybe they will, because maybe you're a really nice guy, they'll buy your book for that reason. Odds are they'll say, hey, great that you've written a book, we'll come and buy it. Half the guys will buy it, half the guys won't. That is the average book. You have to sell 3,000 copies for it to be a success. So there is a dilemma. How am I going to make this book work? Right? So I figured there is a book to be written. But that's not enough to write a book. You need to have a plot. So I think it's quite interesting. It's a kind of thriller-ish kind of thing with the publishing world as a backdrop. That's what ITHACA is about. Publishing world. I suppose it's a professional world. It's not corporate. It's a professional world. There is a writer of bestsellers who dies, and the hero has to find, and his publishing house is in trouble. He has to find another bestseller before his publishing house collapses. So that's the plot. Well, there is a mystery about, is there another book that this bestseller writer is left behind? Is he going to find it? Is he not going to find it? Etc., etc. So how are decisions taken in publishing companies? How does one writer get $1 million? Why does another writer get $1,000? Etc., etc. So yeah, I think there's enough to keep it going. I think it's quite bright. I think it's not as bright as it was 100 years ago, because it's a very old-fashioned industry. It's not a sunrise industry. So it's on its last legs. But there's plenty of life in the old beast yet. That's the way I'd put it. Of course. We're completely compliant with all the latest technology. We have e-books for every single book we publish. We're exploring. It's not that tough, because we have electronic files for every single book we produce. It's just a matter of writing a different kind of code. It's not that difficult. At the moment, it's business as usual. And we're ready to capitalize on new opportunities as they arise. The problem is, it's an undercapitalized industry. It's a small industry. It's not like the movies. It's not like television, where there is big bucks. It's always been a small industry. So it's not earth-shattering if something happens here. It's not like the newspaper industry, where the bottom fell out of it and, things happen. It's not like the software industry, which is where massive things happen. It's not like, what was the sort of cataclysmic thing that happened? Something happened recently. It's not like BlackBerry went down and everyone sort of said, my God, you know. The whole publishing industry, you know, BlackBerry, its market cap was, what was it at its peak? It was something like $30 billion or something. The big 6 publishers put together are something like $15 billion. The 6 biggest publishing companies put together. We're tiny. It doesn't matter. We'll survive, you know.